it's the little things.
Can I suggest you brush the teeth off an alligator? That'd be quite nice, or a crocodile. Brush the teeth
of an alligator. That sounds pretty cool.
I think you could do that. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a nice knowing you, John. Thanks very much.
Toothbrush, is it?
Hey everybody, it's John Lamberton here alongside my good friend and business partner, Mr. Jason Brockman. We are here for another episode of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast, where as always, it is our job to help you get more customers and make more money without just working harder. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this month's episode.
Everybody, welcome to today's podcast. And today's guest is Dan Harrison. Now, Dan is the director and lead developer of WPdoctors. Having been a web developer, specializing in the WordPress platform for 12 years, Dan has written countless WordPress themes and plugins for clients, particularly small business owners. Dan actually started working with WordPress when it was just a year old. It was a little baby. Welcome to the podcast, Dan.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
You're not a real doctor, are you?
No, certainly not. My degree goes up to masters, but not. No, I don't have a doctorate of any kind.
Am I right in thinking your logo had a white coat on it?
It did, yeah. The first version. I once got criticised by someone who was working with me that it was too amateurish at the time, which was quite funny. Funny enough, didn't end up working on web, but yeah, the original logo had a little character with a white coat, and I don't think I could have the WP logo in it, or W logo in it. But yeah, it's just a little doctor logo.
Yeah. How did you
grown up since then? It's just now WPdoctors.
How did you first stumble across WordPress?
Purely by accident, actually. So whilst I've been doing WordPress stuff and WPdoctors for 12 years, I actually encountered WordPress back in 2015-ish. Sorry, 2005-ish rather. I'd been building websites from scratch, writing all the code myself, and then a friend at the time, he said, "Oh, why don't you try this platform? Because basically, you just focus on the content. You don't have to focus on all the code all the time. It does all the hard work for you." And that's why I encountered it. And it was, some of the early versions of WordPress are a little bit ropey, but yeah, that's how I encountered it.
I think we had the bonnet open on a few those early versions of WordPress, didn't we, Jace?
We sure did, yes, and closed it quite quickly.
When I was involved, under the bonnet, I think is what you mean to say.
Exactly that.
Yeah, it was I probably fling this term around too frequently or too easily, but it was a game changer for us using WordPress, because we'd been running an online business for 7-8 years when WordPress came along, and that meant we needed a proper techie, hello Ryan if you're still listening out there, who needed to build actual code for us and make stuff happen, which meant that when we needed an idea for a website, we had the idea, and then 4 months later we got the first version of that page live. When WordPress came along, we had an idea at lunchtime, and I had the minimum viable product up by about 3 p.m.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I remember spending days and days writing code, just changing content. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it's good that it came out. It makes life a lot easier.
It is. Did you realize at the time, because I certainly didn't, how powerful WordPress was going to be in terms of, I don't know the numbers, but doesn't it power something like 68% of the web now?
I don't know what percentage it is at the moment, because it seems to be a different number every time I do the looking up on Google. But it's a high number. I think the last time I saw it was at least a quarter, which is still ridiculous.
That's like nearly 68%, isn't it?
Yes, it's like maths clearly strong suit. No, I probably didn't really realise how important it was probably until about 10 years ago. So I've been playing around with it for a few years and a couple of years with WPdoctors, and then we're starting to get an idea of how popular it was, but certainly not for quite a while did I realise then at all.
Definitely. How did you choose to lean into WordPress? Was it just a case of, I love this platform, I really get to know it, goodbye PHP or whatever it was you were coding in before, I want to actually, does this just accelerate things? Is it because there's a platform there that you can actually build businesses around plugins, around themes?
Well, back then it was purely by accident. So I had actually started a web consultancy business. It was failing miserably. I think I made, the first year was 60 quid, I think I sold. And the following year was even less. So, and I thought I've got to change. And so basically I've been working with doing WordPress stuff for my private projects for ages. And so therefore I was quite intimate with the code in terms of plugging the themes. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to whack up a web page on my WordPress blog about me just offering WordPress-based development, just offering myself to do freelance development work. And I think within a week or two, I had someone contact me asking me to quote for a project they wanted to do. And that project ended up being 5 figures over the course of a couple of years, and was what kick-started everything to do with my development with WordPress. So really accidental that I just actually happened to find that client who really kick-started everything.
Isn't that just the story of every business? I made no money in the start. I really, really struggled. And then something accidentally fell in my lap and I spotted it and I lent into that.
Yeah. After a couple of years, with getting more and more demand, I spotted there was a niche there. So I decided to niche because I knew other developers who did all kinds of things. And I just thought, if I just focus on one thing, it allowed me to do it, but do it really, really well. And that's where all the work started coming in.
That's it. And you picked up quite a lot of work. I remember kind of one of the first times we met, you were on stage speaking at, I think, Viz event in Leeds. Which,
yes,
for those who don't remember, that was kind of it was an SEO conference where they hired out a casino and stuck a bouncy castle in the corner, pick and mix everywhere. It was like no conference I'd ever been to before or ever since. But do you remember what your talk was on that day?
Something like 20 WordPress mistakes and how to fix them, something like that. I've probably got a presentation lying around somewhere.
But I remember thinking, wow, what a presentation that was, because everyone else was kind of running an SEO agency, or they were a coder, they were a geek. And with the exception of Chewbacca, who gave the best talk I've ever seen, which was entitled "Why George Lucas Took All My Money." Yours was the best, most coherent one I've ever seen. Now I know you've done Toastmasters, haven't you?
Yeah, I did Toastmasters probably a couple of years after that. Or before, I can't remember now. The time has just blurred the last one. But because that presentation was funny in the sense that I think I thought I had longer to speak than I really did. And then in the end, I realized I had like 20 or 25 tips, and I had like 90 seconds per tip to explain it all. And I was whizzing through it. And I thought, am I going to get through all these tips? There's so much content to get through. So I had a handy download at the end. But yeah, I do remember that, thinking, must put less in next time.
Yeah. It's the standard public speaking curse of, yeah, but I've got to tell them that story and I've got to do that and I've got to explain that.
Probably before Toastmasters, before I learned that stuff.
Exactly. What did you pick up from Toastmasters that has kind of stuck with you today? Because I don't know if you, obviously there are no stages around at the moment, but I don't know if you're still doing public speaking or whether that's just a skill that stuck with you in terms of communications, or, like you say, more precise.
I haven't. I mean, it's been a little while ago I left it. Because interesting enough, I bumped into an old Toastmaster friend just a few days ago, just walking around locally, and I was saying that I wasn't planning to go back because I'd done a couple of years of Toastmasters, learned what I felt I needed to learn, and then I felt like I came to the end of my journey. And he said that's actually quite common for a lot of Toastmasters. They go for a period of time, pick up the skills they need, and then they move on. For me, the first year I got involved in starting to do some logistics, and the second year I was president for the group for a year. And what I learned from both was I had masses of situations, particularly improvised, to speak when I hadn't previously. Every time previously was just speaking with a planned speech, with a planned topic, planned content. But by running the club, or being involved in running the club, meant that actually I had to speak off the cuff all the time, which helps you deal with your fear of making mistakes on stage.
Yeah. That is, I think, the most paralyzing thing about being on stage is, oh my God, everyone's looking at me and my brain has just stopped, or it's going in a loop, and that's not what I want to say. And the word I need is not coming and my slides are frozen and I don't know what I'm going to do.
I thought it was when nobody laughed at your jokes, John. That was the bit where you went and froze.
Well, I'll let you know if that ever happens, but as of yet,
no one laughs
yet
at my stuff. I don't bother with the jokes. They laugh at me, not with me.
Oh dear.
So Dan, let's take you back then. So 5-figure check came in your door, a job came on for WordPress. Was that when you decided I'm going to be a millionaire?
Yeah, no. So early on that work probably was over a couple of years, and the work was starting to come in. Kept getting involved in different business groups and being around other business owners. My aspirations for what I wanted started to grow and go and get bigger and bigger. I wanted more and more. But it wasn't because what I wanted, it's because what everyone else seemed to want as well. And so therefore it was quite common to speak in the 6-figure, 7-figure incomes. And I kind of thought, well, if I have this amount in the bank and then that's in the bank, I never have to work again and all this kind of thing. And there was a period of time for between about 7 years ago to 5 years ago, I was working my ass off. I was working so hard, producing software here and everywhere, bringing on staff and all this kind of thing. I was working myself to the absolute bone in trying to do everything, and got very, very stressed. And I think, well, why am I doing all this? And I got very, very low doing this. Whilst my marriage suffered at the time, but it wasn't because of that. There was a lot of other things with the marriage, but that also fell apart. Business kind of went completely skewer. So that's when why am I doing this? It's £1 million in the bank. It doesn't actually matter. It doesn't give me what I want. So that was a hard reset. So I completely rethought things from there on.
Brilliant. I mean, that's a journey that kind of we went on with our business, really, John, and you wrote about that in Big Ideas for Small Businesses at length, and we talk about that, and obviously out of that now, 10 years later, kind of thing, ambitious lifestyle business kind of grown from that, really. So actually, that story resonates with us completely, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. It's
that's the story that kind of attracts me, because I thought, well, I've been through all that journey, through all that crap. Having read the book, I thought, well, actually, this feels more like the better fit for me now, where I want to be.
Yeah, it's funny, when we first start the businesses, it's very much to serve our lifestyle, and this is great. We're going to do something we really enjoy. We're going to be really passionate about this, and we won't have to work for this horrible arsehole of a boss. And then fast forward 3 years, and suddenly we're working for an arsehole boss that is us. Because it's us going, yeah, but the problem is this guy over here is running and I'm going to use a line now that I know is going to resonate with you, super successful business owner.
Yeah.
Celebrating 7-figure business owners. And when you are in these worlds, I was going to use a different word then, but I won't use that word. When you're in these worlds.
I know exactly what word you're going to use.
You know the word I meant. When you're in those worlds, you do, and it's the environment. One of the main ingredients of Big Ideas was environment, and where you are surrounding yourself with certain types of people, certain types of training, certain types of personal development work and books, you will gravitate towards that. Very early in my affiliate days, I hung around with people that were doing 100K a month on e-spotting, which was like the Google AdWords of its day. Therefore, I needed to do that. Now, I didn't need to do that because I'd come from a civil service job where I earn 800 quid a month. So, if I pulled in £1,500 a month, I've almost doubled my salary. But all of a sudden, I felt that I needed £1.2 million a year. Just because other people were doing it. And it's great that what you see other people doing is possible. And that's great that it proves the theory. If that is what you want and the lifestyle you truly desire is Lamborghinis, Ferraris, beach houses, £1 million businesses, great. But it's amazing the amount of people, particularly in our world, that explore that option and then realize that that's actually their worst nightmare.
Yeah, there's an interesting theory I have that when you're seduced, when you're surrounded by people and you soak up their environment by osmosis and you're kind of drawn to that thing, you're invariably seduced by it when you don't know what you want yourself. So the less focused you are on what you want, the more attractive it is. the more when you become clear on what you want, and assuming it's different, the more you realize actually that's completely an alien environment. You don't want to go around it, be around it at all.
Yeah, no, that's very true. You do. It's almost going with the flow, isn't it?
Yeah, but until you choose a boat, you just end up going with the flow.
Exactly. You jump in Niagara Falls and go with the flow. You're going over the edge, whether you like it or not. Whereas actually, if you jump in Niagara Falls, I don't know, 5 miles upstream, you could probably have a nice little paddle from shore to shore, and you could have a nice little day trip, and it'd be quite serene. But if you go with the flow, you're going under.
Yeah, completely.
So we've decided we're not going to be a millionaire now, so that's cool. So you kind of decided you've done a good review of your life and kind of what kind of things you need, what you'd like to get out of the business, what the business can serve you, rather than you serving the business. So how have you done that? Is that just a case of I'm only going to have one client now and that's it, I don't need to do any more, or is that a case of how have you gone about creating that bit?
I would love to have just one client, to give them proper love, look after them properly, but no, sadly, it's not that simplistic. I started with a shopping list of everything I wanted to do. So I'm sure you read some of these books as well. You read all kinds of books to give you ideas on what you might want to do, but being able to focus on what actually I really want to do. There's people who want to do hot air balloon rides or bungee jumps or jump out of a plane, things like that, and they don't particularly appeal to me. So I was trying to work out, well, actually, what's my version? What are my things to do? And I'm very keen to go to Machu Picchu to go to see the Incan temples, and that's something I want to do. But the cost of that is something like £3,500, and it's a lot of money, but it's a modest amount of money, say compared to owning a £100,000 car, which I don't care about. My car is again very modest; it's a Ford Focus. So. I just started all the things I want to do. So I have a bucket list of probably about 50 items on it, and I'm just focusing on the top 10, and I'm just making plans to do the top 10. And when you work out what they cost, you realize actually you don't need a huge amount of money. So I know how much money I need to pay the bills. I know how much money I need for the bucket list stuff. And then there's a bit of money I just wanted to spend on just random stuff like huge amounts of chocolate. So I have a budget for that. And that gave me a very, very modest number. And then on top of that, I need money to save for the future, for retirement, investing, and so on. And so when you add all of that up, that came to about £5,000 net a month, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I can backtrack and work out what the business needs to do.
Brilliant. And I guess the other thing is that it's not just the financial cost, it's the cost of a month to spend it in Machu Picchu, for example, if you're going to spend some 4 weeks there. So it's actually being able to step away from your business for that period of time, I guess, as well. And other things, I guess, on top of that.
Yeah, there's an engineering the time that you want to spend in the business as well. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not there yet, but trying to get to a point where the business only needs me for emergencies or for any kind of strategic stuff, but that I choose to work 3 days a week. So then that gives me a certain amount of time. And then that freedom I can then use to either do something fun or choose to work more or spend time with my son or something like that. But the emphasis is being able to choose. And so there's a money element, but there's also a time element.
Okay, cool. And is there a particular type of work that you like to do?
Now the answer should be that I love marketing. I love marketing my business. I love doing this, that, and the other thing. That's not me. I've been fighting this for goodness how long, 5-6 years, and marketing's not my natural world. And having allowed myself to realize that in the last couple of weeks has been helpful. It's the proper techie, proper solving real problems that I absolutely love. So in the same way people are seduced by Sudoku or crosswords or word searches, solving real problems with code is an amazing use of time, and I can lose hours in it quite happily. So particularly stuff that plays around with data as well, but yeah, it's always going to be code. So I'm always going to want to do that kind of work.
That sounds a bit bespoke and sort of only something that you can do. Is that scalable?
Yes and no. So I recently brought a developer on board. I had been resisting it for far too long, and I've had developers in the past. And this one's based in the Philippines. I've been training him on doing some types of the code that's very time consuming, but is relatively straightforward. the bits that are complicated, I end up writing the code for and then putting it in our library of code. And then the design elements, the bits that require the detail and the thinking, that he can then do and I don't have to do. So parts of it scalable, the complicated stuff is not. So that's where doing this client work is actually not ideal. I do some brilliant work for a client, but then it's a one-off and it can't really easily be used for other clients. And so that's why I'm making some strides to kind of move away from just that bespoke work.
I think we were probably one of the first adopters of a subscription tool that you kind of created, wasn't it? Software as a service, SaaS, as everyone likes to call it these days. Everyone likes to be a bit sassy, don't they? I don't know what it's all about, but there you go. And I think we're probably one of the early adopters of something that you created for WordPress sites that we had.
Yes. So this was a landing page tool that I created 7 years ago, I guess. And I don't keep track of all these days. I probably really should. Time just blurs. So I created this tool and I fell into it because I noticed there was demand. There's the business groups that we're in were kind of creating landing pages, and there's a deep need for it to create something that's easy and simple. At the time, the range of tools out there was very limited and didn't work on mobile and all kinds of things. So at the time, the tool was cutting edge. Now it's a little bit rough around the edges. But having focused purely on what customers wanted at the time and built something around that was a really good start to create something, and it ended up doing relatively well. I think at some point it was doing about 60,000 or so a year revenue in its heyday. So it was doing pretty well. But in doing so, I learned a hell of a lot of how to run a software-based business. Particularly what I didn't do, which was get some more support that wasn't me to look after people dealing with their inquiries. Having learned from that, that's something I'm now going to fix. But yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, we had our own foray into that kind of sassy stuff, really, with easy content units. So again, finding a pocket of a need in the marketplace for providing product feeds to affiliates. Obviously, that was our background, was affiliates, and the networks did them themselves, but they didn't do them across network. So we kind of created this tool which allowed it. Cutting edge at the time again, and great stuff. But unfortunately, the scaling of it and relying on one developer to kind of get the stuff done we needed, and those time things, and then the network started taking a bit more advantage of what they had, and then it sort of and then it kind of drifted, and I think rough around the edges is probably where it finished, to be fair. But found that same thing. It's about capacity, it's about support, it's about lots of learning lessons from that one, really.
Yeah, I've been reading around subjects and I'm doing some research on a couple of people that I'm trying to find the right people to listen to who have done something similar and what they've learned. But the lessons I've been learning is trying to get the software so well defined that the problems that people have are common enough, either that an FAQ will sort it or a member of staff will be trained to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And rather than having big complex problems that your support needs to support and deal with and look after, that you get lots of smaller ones that are relatively straightforward to deal with. And I like that as a philosophy. And when you've got big ones to solve, that usually means you need to add a new feature or functionality or improve something.
I had a quote the other day. I can't remember where this is from, and it might have been a cartoon. Anyway, it said, in the world of the future, companies will have two employees, a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog, and the dog will be there to stop the man from pressing the button.
Sounds like a Simpsons, doesn't it?
It does. Sounds like my sort of business, I'll be honest with you. Just me and the dog.
Yeah, there's a definite fashion around with software, especially with AI. There's lots of people using AI as a marketing feature, even though it's more complicated than that. But yeah, that's going to be an increasing component of it.
It is. Thinking about the famous Steve Jobs quote, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. In the last few minutes, you've kind of said that you put together your dream list of your bucket list, the stuff you want to do. You've triaged that. You've put the most important stuff at the top. You've done your 80-20 analysis and you've identified, let's just look at the top 10. And you've priced that up and said, for me to live my dream life, it's going to cost $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
You've also said in the last few minutes that you developed a tool that generated £60,000 a year. Now, by my crude maths, I reckon $60,000 a year is exactly $5,000 a month. So if you can fully automate a SaaS tool at 60 grand a year. You're off Machu Picchu, lattes wherever, swimming in chocolate like Scrooge McDuck, but with chocolate coins. Would that be an accurate description?
You didn't allow for tax, but yeah. So I did say net.
Yeah, but if you base your company in Peru, you will not have to pay UK
cost of living goes down. My chocolate is raw cacao, and I get that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, the fact I've done it before, it just means that I could do it. I just need to do it better and more reliably with sport. So having done it, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And exactly, and it's looking at it and not thinking, okay, let's emulate this product, which is a £5 million IPO. It's actually, let's emulate this product I've already built. That was a 60 grand a year product. But for me, as the business owner, it needs to have this feature in there. We need to put some redundancy in here so that the owner can be redundant. We need to stick a dog here to stop me from pressing the button.
Yeah, the easiest way to get there, I mean, because it's a modest amount of money, it's just to purely listen to what people ask for and just do that, nothing else.
Yeah.
They don't always have good ideas, but so some of the ideas are a little bit, okay, you do something custom, but 80% of the time, at least, their ideas are very, very useful to everyone else.
This is music to my ears. I have read the 80-20 principle over the last 2 weeks. So everything I'm hearing here
resonates.
Exactly that. You're just focusing on the 20% of stuff that's going to get you 8% there. Let's just focus on the few core problems. One of the greatest, the Basecamp guys, Jason Fried, David Hannemeyer Hansen, say that actually you should underperform your competitors. Rather than looking to out-build them and out-feature them and out-tech them, you should do what they're doing, but remove 80% of the features. Take all the bloat out and just leave the stuff that most people want to do. Your power users, well, it's far too basic for them.
Yeah.
But your users are, oh my God, this is really easy. What was, I think, my testimonial was used on your SaaS page, and it was along the lines of, it's so easy, even I can use it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, but that's something that is interesting because there were, I can think of a couple of clients or customers of the software, and they come to mind. I'm not going to mention their names, but they were very, very demanding of, why doesn't the software do this and the software do that? It's like, well, because it's not meant to.
Yep.
If you want more advanced products, you go and buy the more advanced product. If you want something that's straightforward and does X, Y, and Z brilliantly and fast and easy, then my tool is brilliant. And that was, I didn't see it at the time, but it's easy to see it now, looking back in retrospect, how polarizing that was and how useful that was. So then I can look after customers who want the functionality I offer and ignore the rest.
Yeah. We're looking at, we've got a little SaaS business at the moment in the kind of sports betting niche, and we are planning on putting together like a roadmap where basically the members can just say, hey, here's the stuff we would like you to develop. And I'm going to put a quote at the very top of that page from Mr. Henry Ford, which is, if I'd listened to customers, I'd have given them a faster horse. And make it very clear that we do want your suggestions, but expect that we're probably going to say no to most of these, because what you're going to do is make our product more complicated, harder to use. Our niche is, it's quite powerful, but it's really easy to use. It's like top trumps for racehorses. It's simple. And the minute we start saying, oh, but can it do this? Yeah, we can code that up for you. Oh, can it do that? Be really good if it did X, Y, and Z. It's like, yeah, of course it can, of course it can. And then we need to quadruple our customer support team to now answer, how does it work? How do I get started? It's too complicated. I don't get it.
Yeah, there's a difference between listening to customers and doing what they say. That's something I've encountered. Listening to their feedback is invaluable because they're telling you what they're experiencing and not necessarily what they need, but just what pain they're having. And that's when you start to get the real solutions. But say, yeah, I completely get you. There is a difference between doing what they say and listening.
Yeah. Can you get me a faster horse, please? Well, I can, but why do you need a faster horse?
Here's a couple of rockets.
Exactly, yeah. Nitrous oxide.
Yep, on a horse.
Fantastic. So what's the plan now then in terms of, are you creating a new SaaS tool from scratch, or are you taking together piecemeal bits from other operations you've seen elsewhere?
I'm doing something what's called rapid prototyping. So I'm building 2 new tools, but I'm basing it on other tools to help me get there faster, to check the market and see the market wants it. Mm-hmm. So from my experiences, you can't always sell something, sell an idea, and people don't quite get it. You need to create enough that you can say, well, this is what it looks like, what I can do. And then it sparks their imagination, then they want to spend money. Mm-hmm. In both cases, I have, so there's 2 different projects, both SaaS businesses. One, the client is, I have a client who really, really wants what it can do. And I've just extrapolated to make it more generalized for other clients. The other project, I haven't even created anything. I've just sold the idea to 2 people and they're interested.
Yeah. So they're paying for the development?
Yeah, I mean, in both cases, the fee won't cover the cost of development, because development would be the equivalent of sort of 5-6 figures, but probably 5 figures to start off with. But it will cover a chunk, enough of my time to make it worthwhile me getting started on that.
Yeah. So again, thinking about the 80-20 principle there, you are 80% of the way there using maybe 20% of your own funds.
Yes. So it just means I have to work a few extra hours for 3 or 4 weeks to get the prototypes up. And then I can test the market and put something out, see what happens.
Yeah. How will you know? What will be your criteria for whether that's a success or not?
Quite easy. People want to spend money.
Yeah.
The solution. So there's one problem with SaaS tools that, in general, that I discovered in retrospect, looking at my landing page tool, and it's that there is always people willing to spend money for something to be set up for them on your SaaS system. So for the landing page tool, I had people who wanted to spend money for me to create something for them. And I took advantage of that for a period of time and created some great stuff that worked really well for a few people. But both these projects that I've just talked about, I have 3 clients in total. I have people willing to spend money on me creating something for them. And because of that upsell and customization, that helps cover some of the cost of developing the generalized features, but also means they get exactly what they want very quickly. And that is always easier to sell than the software. So I can sell the outcome faster by saying, okay, well, you can pay 10 quid a month for the software, or if you pay me 300 plus VAT, we'll create X, Y, and Z for you, get it all set up, all singing, dancing, connected to your website, does X, Y, and Z, all ready to go. Mm-hmm. And then it's £10 a month. Yeah. And they will always go for the latter. That's because what I know.
It's tailor-made for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a perfect fit, as opposed to kind of browsing off the shelf products and thinking, well, that's okay, but I need more bandwidth than that. That's okay, but I don't need 80% of those features. That's okay, but I wasn't looking to spend that much. That's okay, but there's always a compromise.
Yes.
Whereas when it's a custom build, it's like, that's just what I need. Oh, by the way, how much is it?
Yeah, and it comes down to when someone has a problem, they just want a solution. They don't want the software. They just want the solution. Yeah. And I'm just fast tracking that. And I've tested this model with the different parts of WPdoctors with website creation. So it's X amount for the website to be created. Then you've got support and hosting, and there's this price, and bundle all together, and pay it. And they go, okay, cool. And I think the uptake of support and hosting is like 95%, if not higher. And it's just a natural part of the sales process. So therefore, I plan to do the same, but the SaaS software.
Okay, so where's that going to lead lifestyle-wise? And have you got a time scale for this trip to Machu Picchu?
Yeah, so given the current situation, obviously, we've had the pandemic and whatnot. So I'm aiming for, 2022, I think, to go. Or 2023, I can't remember which now. I think it's
they all roll into one, don't they? Sometime in the future when we're allowed to travel.
Yeah, we're out of travel. I think it's going to take a year for the world to sort itself out. So that's why I think if everything's settled down, it'll be another year on top. So that's why I think in 2 years.
Yeah.
Which item of your bucket list are you going to do instead first?
not instead. I'm going to just book that one. So that's starting to get paid for, and then look at the next one.
Okay.
I can't remember what's another.
2 years to wait is an awful long time to tick something else off the bucket list, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm still going to pay for it to get it ready because it's going to happen then. I really want to. Again?
I just want you to do something else.
Oh, no, I will. So I can't remember what's number 2 or 3 on the list, but I know at number 7 is I really want to learn how to do ice skating.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore I want to find adult classes, because I'm really rubbish, to learn how to skate properly and not worry about falling over all the time.
Fab.
And that, again, it's a modest cost. I think the lessons was something like £80 for 6 weeks or something.
Yeah. This, if there's nothing else that I think listeners can take from this podcast today, it is exactly that when you sit down and work out what you truly want, and let's iterate a few of those words, what you truly want, not what you think you should truly want. So put down the Ferrari magazines and the country houses now, unless that is what you truly want. But what you really, really want from life, price it up. And it probably isn't going to require, you could probably knock a 0 at least off the net worth that you think you need to acquire in order to achieve that goal. And that's so liberating when you reach that stage, isn't it?
Well, there's a lovely story. I've got to tell you this. So talking about knocking a 0, in this case, I think it knocks off 3 zeros.
Wow.
So for a long, long time, from at least 10 years, if not longer, I've been talking about owning a woodland. I really wanted to own my own woodland. And then park
I used to look at those signs.
park a caravan or something on it, and just basically have a retreat on my own in the woods and just chill out for a couple of days on my own without just being away from everything and tech and stuff like that. And I thought it'd be amazing, cut down trees, proper lumberjack, the flannel shirt, the works. And I thought, yeah, it sounds cool. And so I've been kind of waiting for ages because I've been looking for places local to me, so I don't go travel too far. And there's 2 major woodland websites, and I've been subscribing, getting emails. I get emails every week. And they were starting to come up locally, and there was a few that within 25 minutes of where I live. And it's quite interesting. But something occurred to me, and I thought, how do I know I actually want a woodland? Because I've never actually. So when I was younger as a kid, I spent a lot of time doing clearing parties with my dad, which was basically a group of guys clearing parts of the woodland to look after the woods, and big bonfires and work days and stuff. And it was good fun. And there's a part of getting back to that, but there's no camping. So I thought, I've not actually done camping in the woods apart from when I was a Cub Scout. And even then it was okay, but there were other people around. So I found a campsite. So it's a shepherd's hut. If you know what those are, just the funny little huts, a little log burner, bed and stuff like that. This one was basic. So it just had a log burner and a bed and a little kitchen table. But it was in a big field with some woods. And I thought, perfect, I can go stay there. So to give you an idea of cost, a good woodland, it's about 15,000 an acre currently, give or take. So 4 or 5 acres, about £75,000. So I went away for a weekend for a couple of nights, and it was something like £300. And I had one night where my partner stayed with me, the partner at the time, because I'm currently single, but she stayed with me for a night, and I had a night on my own. The night on my own was horrid. Absolutely horrible. Never felt so bloody lonely. Hated it. Every single noise made me twitch. It was so bloody dark. There were no lights anywhere, no one around. And I thought, sod this, I ain't doing this. So I spent 300 quid and saved myself 75 grand.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Just that one night on your own.
Yeah,
I don't like this. Get me out of here.
But the point is sometimes you don't have to own something to experience it. And sometimes just trying it, you realize actually that isn't important to me at all.
Imagine, even worse than that, Dan, let's imagine you could have worked for 20 years to save up for that dream and then discovered on night 2 that you hated it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So as always, this is the Ambitious Lifestyle Business. How would you define an ambitious lifestyle business, Dan?
I think the ambition has got to be how focused someone is on what they actually want, as opposed to what other people say they should have and they should want. So the ambition, it relates purely to making the headspace to choose what they want and to try a few things to work out what that might be, and then sticking to a plan that helps them actually achieve that.
Yeah, and I've been reading a bit of Tony Robbins recently as well, and he talks about like actually deciding, not just, oh, it would be nice if we did this, but actually deciding we are doing this, this is happening, and I'm in control of my own destiny. And I think, yeah, whatever ambitions you have, dear listener, you can achieve them. If someone else has done it, it can be done. And if you truly desire it, it can be done. But as Dan's proven today, sometimes you need to question your own desire and to see whether what you think you want is what you want or whether it's what someone else wants. And it's whether you might think you want it, but perhaps try it first. It may not be all it's cracked up to be.
So something I encourage, and I think probably helps because my son is 6 coming up 7. And there's something about being around a child of that age that's very, very clarifying to the way you think, because it simplifies everything. You see things through a very different lens. And if you don't have children of your own of that age, perhaps you've got nieces, nephews, grandkids, whatever. But just asking them certain questions about what they think is fun, what they do if they had £1 million, and just asking them, because as we become adults, we learn how not to be playful. We forget how to keep things simple. We create this complexity out of nothing when we don't need to. Give you an example is of all the things that are on my list and things I want to do to improve my home. One of them is just a bath, because I have a shower currently. And when I bought the place, I just had a shower and I just want a bath. It's quite simple because I love a bath. But you just think, oh, I need to have a house of a certain size and it has a big off-road driveway. No, I just want a bath.
Yeah.
I don't care about that shit. I just want a bath. And just remembering to be playful and just think, well, I did an impulse buy last week and I just bought myself some gourmet marshmallows and it cost £22 off Facebook. And I wouldn't usually buy something like that, but it was just fun.
Yep.
And I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to play and I'm just going to have fun. So whatever big ambition someone has, they need to make sure there's a big chunk of it that there's just having fun. And some friends might consider it to be silly, but you can ignore them and just do it.
They're not the friends you want to hang around with if they think that having fun is silly.
The marshmallows I had at the weekend, and my friend said, "You bought gourmet marshmallows," and he was trying to rip it out of me. And then he tried one and goes, oh, "Okay, actually they're quite good." Yeah.
So gourmet marshmallows dipped in like really good melted chocolate. Now we're talking, aren't we?
It had chocolate inside. It had one was mini egg flavour, one was mini egg flavour and cream egg flavour. The 2 flavours.
Oh,
chocolate already in the marshmallows. Jeez.
we were talking about this on a call earlier. We've got obviously Steve West was on our podcast a few episodes back. He owns a cake company. There was a prospective new 1%er who runs a chocolate company. And as I explained, we now just need someone now that makes really good coffee, and I'm sorted. That's all I need.
Those companies exist. They're quite easy to find.
I know. It covers all the bases, everything I'd ever need. But honestly, we think about ambitions, targets, and we do think about the Machu Picchus of this world, the big bucket list things. I'm planning a trip to Australia in 2 years' time. I've written down, by the way, my bucket list for Australia. Let me just read off some of the stuff that I want to do. I want to go stargazing, looking up at the stars at Ayers Rock where there's no light pollution. I want to cuddle a koala. I want to drive on the Great Ocean Highway. I want to have a meal up the tower in Sydney. I want to climb the bridge at Sydney. None of this, not a single one of these items cost more than 150 quid.
Yep.
It's the little things.
Can I suggest you brush the teeth off an alligator? That'd be quite nice, or a crocodile. Brush the teeth of
an alligator. That sounds pretty cool.
I think you could do that. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, maybe
it's a nice knowing you, John. Thanks very much.
Toothbrush, is it?
So you talk about experiences like that. I mean, there's places like Northern Lights, which I'd love to see, but there are certain beaches, and I couldn't tell you many of them. My geography is beyond the joke. Technically, I'm brilliant. Geography. But there are beaches where the water bioluminesces, so the water glows as you walk through it.
Wow.
And so I want to go to places like that. And it's just those kind of experiences where you kind of go back to being a youngster, a child, and going, yeah, that's just cool.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
It is. It's not the big ticket items. It is the amount of happiness that you get from a really good marshmallow or a really good cup of coffee is not too dissimilar from owning a yacht. But it's a lot different on the bank balance.
It's the same drug, dopamine, serotonin, all those things. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the only difference is not just the dollar amount or the pound amount, but it's the time amount. And if you start thinking of purchases in terms of how many days am I going to have to work to pay for this, that's when it becomes a very different kettle of fish. It's like, yeah, I'm happy to work 10 minutes to have some gourmet marshmallows.
Yeah.
Am I willing to work for the next 3.5 years to own a yacht? Well, that's a lot of time just for a yacht.
Yeah, or make friends with someone who owns a yacht and go out for the weekend, job done.
Exactly. How is Mark these days, Jace? Is he all right?
Good, thank you. Yes.
Good. We must meet up with him some days, maybe on the water.
You must have it. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, anyway, Dan, it's been brilliant having you on our podcast this time round. If anybody wanted to get hold of you to do some bespoke WordPress stuff or to find out more about your software as a service tools that you've got kind of coming out, how can they get hold of you?
Go to the website. It's easiest. It's WPdoctors.co.uk.
Awesome. Dan Harrison, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Cheers.
So there we are, another episode in the can. How was it for you? Please let us know. However you listen to these podcasts, please leave a review on that platform. Let us know what we can do better, what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve to make this show even better for you. We'll see you next time.